What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I make videos about witchcraft, paganism, spirituality, and other related topics, so feel free to hit subscribe if that sounds like something interesting to you, and feel free to like and comment if you enjoy this video. So today's video is going to be kind of a starting guide for green witchcraft. Since a lot of people have been asking about green witchcraft, how you can get started, and kind of tips and stuff, I'm here to share you some books that I like and kind of things that you can do in your day-to-day life to get started as a green witch, or incorporating green witchcraft into your already existing practice. Now, I'm going to start off with a couple of book recommendations. So the first one is The Green Witch by Erin Murphy Hiscog. It's this lovely book right here. It has a lot of nice information. It's really good for people who are just starting out in green witchcraft. It has some nice tips. It's got things you can do, starting an herbal garden, recipes. It's got, kind of the basics of what green witchcraft is, some of the basic correspondences of some herbs, and how you can connect better to the earth and things like that. And this is a really great book that I would definitely recommend. It's a really good read. The next book I would recommend is Scott Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. I have this as an ebook, so I can't show you, but it's a really great book. It lists the herbs, so it has a page for an herb, and then it lists all its correspondences. So I have one of the herbs written down here. It has the folk names, the kind of Latin binomial, it's got the gender, planet, element, deities associated with the herb, its powers, its magical uses, its medicinal uses, some medicinal uses. It mostly focuses on the magical uses though. And that's a really wonderful resource, and you can kind of flip through it and find whatever herb you're interested in learning about and read all about it. So that's a wonderful book to start off with as well. For Herbalism Books, again, I have a couple of these as ebooks, so I'll just put a picture. These are for more medicinal purposes. Herbal Recipes by Rosemary Gladstar is a really great book. The Healing Herbs by Michael Castleman is great. And so yeah, those are some really good books that you can start off with for magical and medicinal properties of herbs. Next, let's talk about some tips I have for starting off in herbalism and green witchcraft. The first thing you can do is go outside and find whatever herbs are growing near you, whatever trees, flowers, any plants that you can use in your practice, and then you can find out their metaphysical properties and medicinal properties if you are going that route as well. Doing this, I have found some very, very valuable plants in my area that I don't have to go out and buy. In fact, now in my practice, most of the herbs I use, I gather myself. So I really recommend it. One thing you can do is you can get a plant identifying app. I use the app Picture This, and it's really great for identifying herbs. It's very accurate, but I'd still recommend, after you identifying it, look up that herb and see if it's the same thing. And you can always ask someone, more experienced to clarify for you. But it usually does get it right, and it's a really great app. So I'd 100% recommend that app. Next good thing to know is when and how to harvest herbs. And lucky for you, I have all that information written down in my Book of Shadows. So I'm just going to let y'all know what I've gathered from my sources from studying. This is mainly I've compiled this from a couple of books that I've read, and I kind of add on information the more I read. So leaves are best harvested in late winter to the early spring. Leaves should be green without spots, and harvest mid-morning after dew has evaporated, and gather before the plant starts flowering for, the best kind of leaves. Although honestly, you can harvest leaves if it's not those conditions, but keep in mind, these are the best conditions to get the best parts of the plant in the best condition. For For flowers, they're best harvested right after opening. You can harvest during the early afternoon when the weather is dry. Seeds are best harvested in late summer and early autumn. You can collect them on a warm, dry day, and you can also put a box under the plants if they drop seeds. That's a good way to collect them. Roots are best collected in late autumn after the plant has begun to wither if it is not a, evergreen or whatever. You can cut the roots into small bits and dry in the oven at 120 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit, not Celsius, and you can turn and check them often until they are light and airy. For berries, most berries are best harvested in autumn. Some of them are best harvested in winter. It really depends on the berry. So you can wash them, lay them dry on wax paper, lay them to dry on dry wax paper if you're going to dry your berries. Dry them somewhere ventilated and away from direct sunlight, and turn them often and check for juices, and if they leak onto the paper, just replace the wax paper often. For bark is best harvested in spring. It peels the easiest on damp days, and choose a young tree, preferably already taken down, so that you don't kill the tree. And please, if it is not taken down, don't take too much bark. It's so bad for the tree. I usually don't harvest bark because I'm afraid of hurting the tree. And honestly, I do work with trees, and I do believe that trees have souls, and so I'm very careful with that. So if you are going to harvest bark, please be careful, and please try to harvest from a tree that's already been taken down. If not, take a very small amount and make sure you're not killing the tree or hurting it in any way. For bark, after you take it off the tree, you can wash it and dry it in the same way as you would berries. Now let's talk about herbal extraction techniques. I have also got this compiled in my handy little book of shadows from several sources. So let's get into that. These can be used in both medicinal and magical ways. The first one is infusion, and it is steeping the herbs in water of a particular temperature, kind of like how you make tea. And you can steep it covered for 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour. It really depends on the strength. Usually with tea, you'd only steep it for 5 minutes max. But if you're making a strong infusion, you're probably going to want to steep it for a long time. A decoction is usually used for stronger plant matter like roots, twigs, barks, and dried berries, and anything that doesn't fully go into the infusion, but generally use decoctions for twigs and bark and such. This is done by boiling or simmering for about 30 minutes. Depends on the plant. Again, the times are not the same for every plant, and sometimes it's up to 5 hours. It depends on what you're trying to make and everything, and depends on the toughness. An enfleurage, I don't know, I think I'm saying it right. It sounds pretty fancy, enfleurage. That is the soaking of an herb in an oil or fat, and I actually have done this with my juniper. Let me show y'all. So this is my juniper oil that I've made, and I use just use an oil. You can use olive oil, jojoba oil, vegetable oil, whatever you have, as long as it's not. I don't like to use anything super strong scented because that kind of defeats part of the purpose. But yeah, and then you can use, for juniper for example, you can use this as a protection oil. If you want to make a nice protection oil, I would add a few other protection plants and maybe a couple drops of an essential oil. But this is just juniper soaked in oil for a long time, and it even takes on the smell and everything. And the properties, of course. Next, we have a tincture, which is steeping an herb in alcohol or vinegar. So you can steep it in vodka, grain alcohol, rum, vinegar, ethanol, whatever. You fill a clean container to the top with the herbal matter and the alcohol, place in a sunny place, and swirl every day. Although that's just one method of making a tincture. There are tons of ways. Some people just keep it in a dark place. It really depends. place in a sunny place, and swirl every day for 4 to 6 weeks, and then afterwards you can strain it. Again, that's just one way of making it. That's one method I've learned. If you have other methods, feel free to put them in the comments so we can contribute to a nice little learning environment here. The next thing I wanted to go over is things to consider before buying herbs, because not all of us can harvest our own herbs, not all of us can grow our own herbs, and no matter what, we're always gonna buy an herb at some point. For example, I don't grow mugwort. It doesn't grow around me. I usually buy it. So, most of us are going to buy herbs at some point. So, things to consider before buying herbs. Are they ethically harvested? Are they ethically sourced? Please try avoiding buying anything that's endangered or being unethically sourced. An example of this is white sage. White sage is very important to indigenous people, and it's being very much unethically sourced by companies, and they're mass stealing it basically and selling it, and that's not okay. So make sure it's ethically sourced. Are they endangered? Try not to buy endangered herbs if you can help it. There are always substitutes in magic. Always. There's never not a substitute. I'm sorry, but you do not have to use an endangered herb. That's just the fact of the matter. Are they organically grown? Now, this is kind of up to you. Some people don't care, some people do. So if you do care about the stuff, see if they're organically grown. Are they fresh? If it's not fresh, it's not going to be quite as effective. Usually an herb that's fresh will have a brighter color and scent. It'll be scented. If you can't smell it, depends on the herb. Some herbs don't have a scent, but if it's an herb that generally has a scent and it doesn't, then it's probably not fresh. And are the prices fair? Of course, we all want a good deal and everything. So make sure that you're getting the best for, the best price for the herb, basically. And then, of course, you're going to want to order from somewhere that's convenient, and, if there's someone to answer questions, that's even better. And honestly, it's all up to you. I think growing your herbs is always great, but we can't all do that all the time. So another thing to consider before buying an herb is, whether or not you have a sensitivity to it, so make sure you're not allergic. And then if you don't know, either see your doctor or just be very careful with herbs, because, for example, look up what you can and can't have. For example, mugwort, if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, you're not supposed to ingest it. So please do your research on your herbs, especially if you're pregnant or breastfeeding or you're taking medication, because certain herbs can mess with your medication and stuff like that. So just being safe is always great. Another good thing to do, as I mentioned earlier, is growing and caring for your plants. I grow a few of my own, talking to them, caring for them, making sure they're doing okay. It's a really wonderful thing to do. So I definitely recommend that if you can. Another thing I'd recommend is doing meditations with trees. I do this all the time, and it's really wonderful because you can really build a connection with that earth energy, and you can build a connection with that particular tree if you meditate with it a lot. So what I do is I sit on the ground at the base of the tree, and always ask for permission, especially if you adhere to the idea that plants have souls, that trees have souls, which I do. I always ask for permission. I'm like, is it okay if I sit here? Is it okay if I do this? And you'll get a yes or no answer just based on how you feel. Some people actually hear yes or no in their head, or it really depends on you. For me, it's my intuition. Like I'll ask if it's okay, and then if I'll feel a yes or I'll feel a no. If you're having trouble with that, bringing a pendulum with you is always great, and then, it'll have a yes direction and a no direction, and that's always good too. Because technically pendulums are spirit communication devices. In the same vein, I'd recommend grounding and kind of exploring earth energy and grounding and centering to the earth. So doing grounding meditations, meditation techniques for grounding, yoga, as I said, tree meditations, and just connecting to the earth is really wonderful for anyone who's trying to do green witchcraft. Yeah, it's really wonderful. And I actually have a video. It's an older video. My videos now are so much better, but it is an older video that I made for Earth Day, and it has a lot of tips for grounding. So if you want to learn more about grounding and ways you can do it, you can feel free to watch that. And yeah, that's really it. One last thing is, if you don't know who she is already, I'd recommend checking out The Green Witch on YouTube. She is a green witch, and she is an herbalist. She's studying herbalism, and so I definitely recommend her videos because she has some recipe videos about plants and stuff like that. So if you're looking into green witchcraft and or herbalism, her channel is great, and I'll link that below too. I'll link all the things I mentioned, or I'll put the book titles and her channel and everything in the description. I really hope this video was helpful. I hope you learned something new. If you did, please like and comment. It actually really helps me, especially small YouTubers. I really appreciate your support and everything. So yeah, feel free to like and comment and subscribe if you liked this video, and you can comment any questions you have or anything like that. And thank you for watching all the way till the end. I hope this helped, and I will see you next time. I love you all. Bye. Blessed be.